And we are live with another episode of Comic Talk. It's that show brought to you by the Keeg, where we talk about this week's new comic book releases, whether they're DC, Marvel, or Indie. We're here to talk about everything that came out this week. I'm your host, Dimithri Perera. And if you're watching us live, you are watching us on twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show. Or maybe you're listening to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from, all your major podcast platforms. This is Comic Talk, your weekly comic book recap. And for those of you who don't know, new DC Comics come out on Tuesdays, at least for the time being. I heard that's going to change soon. But new Marvel and Indie comics come out on Wednesdays, and we're here on a Thursday, April 18th, 2024, to talk about everything we can. Me and my two guests, both of which who have been on the show before, but never together. So this is kind of a new thing, which is weird when we get a new matchup. But welcome to you both. We got Ethan, aka Virgo Blade. Ethan, what's up, man?
You know, same old, just enjoying my comics.
Yeah.
Yep.
What is Virgo season? I don't know.
What's what?
What's Virgo season? Like, what's Virgo? Like, is Virgo your sign? Is that what I'm assuming?
Yeah. Yes. So Virgo season, that's like what? Late August and through like early September.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'm a Virgo, and the reason why I'm named that is because I do fit a lot of those characteristics. I know that a lot of people don't subscribe to that, which is completely cool.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look up the like attributes, that's who I am.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yeah.
What are some attributes of Virgos?
Let's see. Very, I guess you'd say, particular, thoughtful, very detail oriented, very good like at being creative, and knowing their own minds.
Okay.
I think that's putting it nicely. There's negative things too.
Yeah, I mean, you can keep your negatives a secret. It's okay.
Yeah.
You're like
you'll find those out.
Get so mad that they murder someone in cold blood. You know
those things.
Yeah. I mean, we can keep that under wraps for now. But I'm glad that I have you on, and I think I was talking to you earlier that you are the newest guest on the rotating panel of Comic Talk crew. So,
feel special.
Welcome back, even though you've been on here for a good amount of months now.
Yeah, few months, like since the beginning of this year, I think.
Yeah. So thanks for coming by, and it's also interesting you've never been on a show with Lex from Wednesday Pull, who's our other guest. So hopefully you guys don't butt heads. You guys are both incredibly hard to work with, and this episode's your last episode.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm a diva.
Lex, what's up, man? How's it going?
Hey, it's going well, man. It's good to be back. It's been a while since I've been on, I think, well, maybe a month, but it's good to be back.
It might be more than a month because,
Ooh.
I mean, everybody is on once a month. You're sometimes here twice a month.
Yeah, I was supposed to be on last week, but I'm down with the sickness right now, so it kicked my butt. I didn't go to my comic shop last week or this week because I didn't want to spread any germs. But some of the indie books get sent early, so I've been reading through some of those, and that's predominantly why most of my reads are indie books.
That's fair. You want to know the last time you were on the show? January 25th. So
January.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been a while. It's good to be back.
Yeah. I'm glad to have you both here. Shout out to anyone out there. If you were watching us on Twitch or YouTube, let us know in the chat. Let us know you're out there. Because, want to know. Also, if you're, listening to us as well, write a review, like, comment, subscribe, follow, click, do your thing out there. We're on Amazon Music or Amazon Music for podcasts now, and also Audible. So I don't know whether that's increasing our reach or whether it's just another thing for me to worry about, but I think if you sit down to listen to some audiobooks, I don't know if you're I don't know what's the overlap between audiobooks and podcasts. You think it's the same type of people?
I think
listen to both quite a bit.
Audio based people, auditory.
people with ears, I would assume,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
at the very least.
Especially elves.
Yeah. Well,
Usually when I'm running, I listen to one or the other. I
Mm.
listen to quite a bit of podcasts. So if I run through like my weekly rotation, then I usually have an audiobook
when I
queued up that I'm
run,
working through.
I have to listen to music because I've tried
Yeah.
listening to podcasts. There's no beat on it, right? So my
Yeah.
feet kind of like it's weird. You have to keep like an internal rhythm through listening to other people. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan, but
Yeah.
you know, different strokes for different folks. I'd like to think that Lex is out there running like irregularly with your feet going with people's voices.
Well, I usually like to run with nothing, but sometimes I run for a long
Naked.
time and I get
Got
bored. Yeah, I get bored, so I'll put on an audiobook and I keep the volume pretty low, so I have like the outside. I can still hear the outside noise.
Okay, that's fair. There were a lot of books that came out this week to the point where like there were some key books that I didn't get a chance to read, and let alone books that I've fallen behind on that I want to catch up on. And so it's a little tough to catch up when you can't even like keep up, you know?
Yeah, there were a lot of books out that I wanted to read this week.
Well, Lex, I know that you know your list was a little short this week, but that's okay. What did you read this week?
What did I read? I read Helen of Windhorn, issue number 2. I read Cobra Commander, issue number 4. I flipped through Nightwing. It's sort of a filler issue celebrating his birthday.
Right?
Yeah, celebrating Nightwing.
Yeah.
I flipped through that. And there were a couple other books that I flipped through, but I couldn't tell you a ton about them. I did read those 2.
Okay.
For sure, though.
What would you have read if you had the chance? Because I know that you're getting over, you know, a sickness and everything. So nobody out there come for Lex.
Yeah. Usually I read quite a bit. I did read Batman Superman World's Finest 26. I did read that one too.
Okay.
I wanted to read Wonder Woman. I wanted to catch up on Ultimate Black Panther. I've heard it's been really good. I only read the first issue. I have them all pulled, but I've only read the first issue. Avengers Twilight. That's one I've been trying to work through.
Yeah.
I heard Miles Spider-Man was really good this week. Surprisingly, I heard the Roxanne Thor book was really funny, and I wanted to read.
I read that, and I will tell you what I think about it when
I heard that was really funny. And then there's some indie books that I didn't get around to reading. Something Epic, I think it's what it's called, from Image. Kill Your Darlings. I wanted to read that. I did read Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Untold Destiny. I forgot. I read that like 2 weeks ago. Moon Man, issue number 2. I wanted to read that.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some other ones, but I don't think you can go wrong this week. There were so many books.
Yeah, well, because I liked Moon Man number 1. That's the Kid Cudi comic. We'll have a spin-off of Comic Talk called Cudi Talk, where we just talk about Kid Cudi.
Sign me up.
I like his music. I just don't know much about him. Well, and I've seen him act and stuff, and I saw it, whatever the animated thing on Netflix was. But the point, I digress. There was a lot of books.
Sounds like you have a lot to talk about.
What was it called? Was it Intergalactic? Am I making that up? There was like
something
Netflix
like that
thing. Anyway, whatever. Point being is, I would have even read, you know, Moon Man number 2, but I didn't get to it because there was just a lot this week. But Ethan, you read a little bit more this week.
Kind of, sort of. I feel like because of some kind of like mix up, maybe not as much as I would have liked to. I tried to read more, but anyway, my picks were World's Finest 26, Nightwing 113, Wonder Woman number 8, Superman number, was it
13, I think?
13, was it?
Yeah.
Yes, 13. And then apparently Poison Ivy wasn't this week. And so I'm thinking that the website that I looked at maybe was a bit older. It's from a site that I normally trust, but it's clearly been some kind of mix up.
Sabotage, you know?
Yes. Saboteur.
With yeah, I mean, here's the thing: we hold ourselves to such a high standard because like we have to do this show and everything, right? Like I get it, but at the same time, we are over here reading more comics than most people, like just in general, you know?
Yeah, over 1 to 2 days
Right.
usually.
Right. Like we're talking frequency of just reading it in on the Tuesdays and Wednesdays and getting ready for a Thursday show, but also like if you're reading 5 comics a week, I know a lot of comic shops that would love to have you as a customer if you're reading 5 comics a week. Like, who reads 20 comics a month? Who has 20 comics on their pull list? We have to be on the other side of the bell curve, you know?
Yeah, because that's not even including like back issues.
Right.
Like right now, I'm
Right.
working through Usagi, like all the old Usagi books,
Oh.
and that's just like in my downtime on top of the weekly reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm doing the same thing with Books of Magic, which is the series from the 90s. I'm on issue 60, so yeah.
And I mean,
Nice.
I have my like trades in my bookshelf that like I have trades in my bookshelf I've never read before, and some I've read 15 years ago, and I need to get back to it. I also want to do a whole binge of X-Men. I want to start X-Men from the start and see how far I can
Like
get.
what's start?
Number 1?
Like of the original X-Men?
The boring, bad X-Men. Because I love X-Men. X-Men's not is always like my number 1, but like people
like
don't
that old
realize
stuff.
that like the Stan Lee Jack Kirby X-Men was not X-Men the way we think of X-Men now.
Mm-mm.
People were like, yeah, civil rights and stuff, and I'm like, the original one
No.
was not like. It was just the general like people don't like us because we're freaks. Like that's as far as it goes when it comes to like social commentary until Chris Claremont comes around, and he
messed it up.
changes the game.
He definitely changed the game.
Yeah. So, that was a good list. I also I read a lot this week, but I also didn't read a lot. Like I didn't read as much as I wanted to because like Wonder Woman 8 I didn't get to. Superman 13. Like I didn't get to read that, and I'm pretty up to date with Superman stuff. What I did read was Nightwing 113, Batman Superman World's Finest 26, Jay Garrick The Flash number 6, Titans 10, Fall of the House of X number 4, Dead X-Men 4, Ultimate Black Panther 3, Roxxon Presents Thor number 1, which is just a one-shot, Miles Morales Spider-Man 19, and Avengers Twilight 5. I think that's it. But there's others that I wanted to read, but I didn't get to.
That's good.
What's up? What'd you say?
I said that was a good list.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not embarrassed by it. It's just there's some that I wish I read. Out of everything this week, I don't know whether it matches up with the artwork that we had for this episode. But what were you guys' picks of the week? Who wants to go first?
For me, out of the 2 books that I read,
Yeah.
it was probably Helen of Windhorn.
Okay.
I mean, I really like Cobra Commander, but that's just like Energon universe world building stuff.
Yeah. But this is Helen of Windhorn. Tell me about it, because it's a Dark Horse comic, and I don't tend to read Dark Horse.
It's written by Tom King, illustrated by Bill Evely. You know, probably if you've read Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, you're familiar with that creative team.
Yeah. That's why it looks familiar. Okay.
That's what pulled me into the book. But it's a high fantasy story about family, I think, is the easiest way and very general way to explain it. It's about a girl whose father passed away. She thinks he's a famous writer. She thinks he's the best writer ever. It doesn't seem that way by the context of the story, but has been summoned back to their family home. They've been living in squalor and whatnot. Her and her father just going on adventures, uh, uh, traveling through Texas. Come to find out, he grew up at the House of Windhorn, and it's like this giant mansion with 173 rooms. They have butlers, cooks, and all this stuff. And her grandfather summoned her there because he's going to take care of her.
Mm.
And it starts out as just like a pretty slow book when you're reading the first issue, and you're just getting her to Windhorn. And once you get there, you're still getting to know these characters, her and the lady that's supposed to be taking care of her. She's 16 years old, but she's getting drunk every night to fall asleep. She has these nightmares of these monsters in the courtyard, and come to find out that they're real. And then her grandfather shows up, and he's like this Conan the Barbarian type character, which is completely out of left field for the story.
Yeah.
And then you kind of, in the second issue, you continue that story, and you realize that maybe some of the books that her father wrote were about her grandfather and their relationship. They apparently never met, and their relationship starts to form, and he wants her to sort of follow in his footsteps. It's pretty good. Monsters are real and all that stuff. So
yeah, okay. I wasn't sure where it was going at the beginning when you were like going over the premise, but
yeah, it's a very like secret, like high fantasy stories where it's like hiding in plain sight, like normal people don't see
Right.
the monsters and things that are going on, and it's kind of like that.
Okay. And you would recommend this?
I would, if you're into like fantasy books. It's not like action packed. It's way more narrative.
Yeah.
Lots of dialogue. So if you're into those kind of, like, I like to shake it up every now and then. Like, I like my silly, zany, horny superheroes. I like my good, solid superhero stories, and then I like sort of these fantasy books like this.
Okay. All right.
Keep me interested.
Helen of Windhorn #2 from Dark Horse Comics. I don't hear much about Dark Horse anymore. I feel like Dark Horse used to be like for what, #3? Maybe. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. Image
they were a
back
big
in the
one.
day might have, but Dark Horse used to be huge, and then it's not quite as huge anymore. But
yeah, they've had some crazy, impactful books throughout the years. They still have some, and they definitely have sort of fallen off. If there was a big four, they've definitely fallen off of that into more of like a niche publisher.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting though.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. And plus, if you like the art style, that's a huge plus. I really dig Belquis Evely's art style.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part of Woman of Tomorrow was the art. So majestic.
Yeah, same. And I wasn't even a huge fan of it going into Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. But then just going on that adventure, I sort of fell in love with it. It's kind of like my relationship with Frank Quietly's art. Very early on, wasn't a fan, but as throughout the years, I'm like, God, I can't get enough of it.
It's not for me, Frank Quietly's art's not for me. Mostly because like new X-Men, like being an X-Men fan, and I was a kid.
He had some Uncanny Valley moments in that book.
It was just off, and I didn't like his Emma.
Oh God, yeah, that's one of the worst.
And it was like
worst examples.
And okay, but I guess I like his art on like All-Star. Was it All-Star Superman?
Yeah.
And then on Jupiter Circle and those ones, I like his art there, but generally speaking, Frank Quietly's art's not necessarily for me.
Yeah, that X-Men run is rough.
Yeah. But to be fair though, his artwork's really good for Cassandra Nova. That's like one character is art really.
That baby scene, like the baby scene with Cassandra Nova and Xavier, where they're in the womb.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, but like gross things, he's really really good at.
Yeah, I agree.
Ethan, out of the books that you read, what's your pick of the week?
So I'm gonna have to go with Nightwing 113, but I have to explain myself because it's not for the reason that you think.
What's the reason that I think?
the reason that you think is probably because like, oh, like I love the story. Not that like the story is bad. Like, it is kind of a filler type of feeling episode where it's like not a lot happened, but it did have my boy Tim Drake on it, and if
Yeah.
he's in it, I am happy. And even though it wasn't even a big part, like that's kind of like the messed up part of like this whole thing. It wasn't like, yeah, this huge amazing moment, but just seeing him in the book, he was working with Damian Wayne, and like seeing like the three brothers together, I like eat that up. I love Bat Family content. Like the more Bat Family content I get, the happier I am. And with Tim Drake kind of like having a spotlight on him, even for that little bit, it just made me very happy just like to see them and to see that like Bat interaction. So that's really kind of like the main reason. The story itself was fine. It's kind of, kind of paint by numbers, kind of like what you would expect with Nightwing and Babs. Like their back and forth is always interesting. They're like setting up for his birthday party. And I did like kind of the whole backstory of him really not liking the spotlight, because that's something that people might be surprised by, but at the same time, it's like that feels authentic to him. He's not a vainglorious person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he would want to share that with somebody else. And I think having that like understanding of like extrovert versus introvert, or even just someone who is more caring about someone else getting the attention, is something that like people need to recognize more. Like, just relating it to myself, I don't necessarily like being on camera and doing but like I find a part of it that I do enjoy. I'm actually a very like reclusive person, and people might not think that, when you like see people like that. And so I like that the book kind of drew attention to that kind of archetype.
Yeah. I liked this issue. Well, I mean, I've been loving this Tom Taylor run of Nightwing just in general. But like the thing that stands out with this issue, I guess it's two things. It is that explanation of Dick Grayson wanting to share the spotlight with people and whatnot. I like that. I like it when a writer gets into the why somebody's doing something. It just cements a character. Like it makes them more real in that respect.
Yeah.
But like, I love the moment with Marv Wolfman, and it was really sad because he is like, I'm proud of you, Dick, and George was too, and George Perez is now gone, and
yeah.
For people out there who didn't know, like the new Teen Titans run was written by Marv Wolfman, drawn by George Perez, and they were the ones who like oversaw Dick going from Robin to Nightwing, and George Perez is no longer with us. Marv is, and in the book, the pizza place is called, is it Marv and George's or George and Marv's?
I think it's Marv and George, but I could be wrong.
Okay, and so they draw him like Marv Wolfman, and he talks with Dick, and I think that's like really cool, Marv and George's, yeah.
Yeah, Marv and George's Pizza, 24 hours. Yeah, I thought that was a sweet moment and a nice way to kind of like pay homage to those influential people.
Yeah. It's even more than an homage, right? Like he's literally he's talking to Nightwing like almost to the extent that like Grant Morrison talked to Animal Man. Yeah. When Animal Man meets his creator, right? It's like
very meta.
Yeah. But like in this, it's in universe. It's meta to us, but it's not meta in universe, which is fine. And people pointed out that other Tom Taylor characters are in the backgrounds of the pizza place from Seven Secrets. 7 Secrets? Is that what it was?
There was a Jujutsu Kaisen tease that they put in there, and it's an popular anime.
Okay.
I saw that one. I needed to go back and look and see who else was in there.
Did Tom Taylor do 7 Secrets?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, there are 7 Secrets characters.
Yeah.
In the pizza place.
Well, then I'm going to have to get it framed. It's one of my all-time favorites.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you guys rip pages out of comics? And like,
huh?
Do you guys ever rip pages out of comics?
No.
Okay. Well, because like
I'm not a heathen.
No, I would get it blown up.
Yeah.
Like a scan.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Blow. I would never rip a comic. I would blow it up.
I did buy a second copy of, maybe even a third copy of that continuous Nightwing issue,
Oh yeah.
because I was
Yeah.
gonna take it all out and frame it as one long
And you would have
picture.
to do 2 copies for that to work.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you do it?
So I haven't done it yet, but I did buy extra copies specifically for that.
That's
That'd be
wild.
cool.
Yeah.
Soon.
That would be cool to like put up around. I wonder how long it would be. But yeah. Okay. Nightwing, I liked Nightwing 113. They're setting up for some more Heartless stuff. So
Yeah. The end of this era is is the next story arc, right?
Yeah,
I
and
think
this
it's-
definitely felt like a fond farewell, like leading towards that. Like,
The end of Tom Taylor's Nightwing.
yeah,
is he leaving?
yes.
I don't know if he's leaving, but this is what they've been saying. The Fall of Grayson, I think they're calling it.
Okay.
I can't remember what the final arc is, but
Yeah.
that's what's coming up.
Well, so this was Legacy issue 300 of Nightwing. And so that's why it was like a supersized issue, and it was Dick Grayson's birthday and all that stuff. And but like, what was I gonna say? Oh, Absolute Power is the DC crossover event that's supposed to come out. I forget when, but like, I don't know. Maybe the end of Tom Taylor's run ties in with that. Is he writing Absolute Power?
No, I think Mark Waid is.
Oh. Because
I think Mark Waid's overseeing the whole thing.
Is Mark Waid taking over as DC's poster boy now? Like, because Tom
I don't know.
Taylor was for a little bit, right? Tom King was.
I don't know.
Then he like passed it to Tom Taylor, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. They're about to start this new initiative called All In, and I'm not really sure what that entails, but I know that's the next phase for DC.
Are you talking about?
Isn't like Scott Snyder coming back?
Scott Snyder's coming back for this branch, supposedly for this branch of DC Comics that are supposed to be the rival to the Ultimate Comics and Marvel, called Absolute DC, and that's part of the All In initiative. So, and Scott Snyder is supposedly overseeing the whole thing. So we'll see how that plays out.
I love Scott Snyder's work, so I'm excited for it.
I'm okay with Scott Snyder. I'm fine. I like Scott Snyder, but the only concern is well, a couple of things. I mean, it's rumored that Absolute Comics, that line is going to be Ultimate Comics, right? But like, doesn't it sound almost too close to be even like a parody? You know what I mean? Like Ultimate, Absolute, like, and if it's just the same, at least like Marvel Zombies and DC's, it wasn't DC Zombies.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially so if that was what they were going with, I'm sure they might pivot since it got leaked or rumored, and because that's what they did with the 5G stuff. Like they were going to do 5G, all that stuff got leaked early, and they pivoted and turned it into Future State,
which was just a 2-month run or whatever. Right?
Which they completely, instead of doing the rehaul, they just shoved it all into. Still mixed feelings about that.
Yeah. I had a chat with a comic writer who wrote a comic run that I've talked to in the last 3 years that we've been doing Comic Talk that I was very disappointed in. I talked to that writer because that writer writes good stuff. And I asked him, and I'll only reveal this if I ever get like an interview with him and he wants to reveal this himself. But the editorial told him he had, like, on the last issue of his book, that they had to like throw this like wrench in it, and it just all got messed up. It was weird.
You can almost tell that happened with a lot of the books. you could like reading them, you can almost tell that it's like, nope, we're not doing this anymore.
Like
And that's just
what writer would randomly do something weird and be like, I don't know. It just
it's
seems,
almost like the Zeb Wells Kamala Khan thing.
I mean
It's like,
that has I mean
why
that has
why
to be
would he do that?
editorial. Even if it
Yeah.
wasn't Feige, it has to be an editorial decision.
1000%.
You
Yeah.
know?
It's so random.
Yeah. I also think it's weird that Absolute Power is a crossover event that's coming out, and then Absolute Comics is gonna come after. They have to be related, right? It wouldn't make sense to use the same
That's what I was thinking.
wording.
That's also why I think they will pivot from that and call it something else.
That's true. Or it could be they could go the route of, and again, it would just be like Ultimate Comics. There was a storyline in Ultimate Marvel where Nick Fury leaves the Ultimate Marvel universe and he goes to the Supreme Power or the Squadron Supreme universe, I think. And like he just like camps out there and like accumulates resources. It could be Waller does that,
Yeah.
after the events of Absolute Power, because she is grabbing way too many things.
I'm interested.
My pick of the week is Jay Garrick, The Flash, #6. And so this was unfortunately a 6-issue miniseries, even though it wasn't stated to be, and I believe it's because just, DC doesn't want to say one way or another, like 1 of 6, 2 of 6, 3 of 6, and then be like, let's put it for 12 issues, and like then change that. So they just kind of But they don't, even on the cover they don't say final issue. The only thing is the solicit that says like this is the final race or the race finishes or something like that in the solicit. So it's like, okay. But this is by Jeremy Adams, and I told Jeremy Adams that I love this series and I wish it was an ongoing. Jay Garrick has a daughter that's been lost in time, so now he's like grandpa age, raising a teenage girl who is also not from this time. And then a person from their past, Dr. Elemental, comes in, and there's a big retcon, but like it works. It doesn't not work. The source of Jay Garrick's powers, there's a retcon to his origin story, and it's fine and it works. And like this issue, I wish was still, was an ongoing, but I think it ends well. And it's the most you can ask for,
Yeah. Yeah. I've been liking it so
Did you
far,
read it?
but I'm not the latest issue. That's one that I still have to get to.
Yeah.
But overall, I have been liking where it's been going. Well, I also love JSA characters. And I've been open with the changes that they have been making, just because I'm not like someone that has to like stick to the original the entire time, just because we're in a new age. We have like characters have to change, like stay current and interesting. And this puts a big spotlight on Jake. So I've been enjoying it so far.
Yeah. I like it when they
I read the first issue.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it. It's one of those ones though that like I read the first issue, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna read this when it hits the DC Infinite app.
Oh,
like the whole thing.
Or
sort
like
of
trade
weighted.
trade or whatever.
Yeah. I just sometimes with these characters that get introduced, there was a whole slew of young JSA characters.
Yeah.
And a lot of times in the past, I will get attached to a character. It'll be a great run, and then they'll put that character on the shelf, and it's just like, that sucks.
Yeah. I'm
talking about Sync.
Wait, what?
I'm talking about Sync. I know you're an X-Men person.
Oh, Sync from X-Men. Yeah. Who knows what Sync is going to do with the next, era of X-Men.
Doesn't look like anything.
I think Sync will pop up. I think Sync is going to be like an X Factor or something. And also this is just the starting lineups, right? Enough to get people being like, where is X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, good jumping on point. Hopefully.
But yeah, with this one, I liked it. I wish it was longer, but it is what it is. I like the JSA characters, and I like the fact that like they're from World War II what are they up to now? So you kind of get to see what has changed, you know?
Yeah.
And so something like Jay Garrick or Alan Scott, you know, it's nice to see developments with their characters. It's not the same.
Yeah, they change over time.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember Wildcat had a son in JSA.
Yeah.
His name was Tommy. Like they could have like brought him in.
He's no doubt still alive. Like so what I had heard is that JSA, the new Golden Age, was supposed to be a way bigger initiative. Like it was supposed to be like a company-wide big push. But keep in mind that
I felt like it was.
DC's been cutting down on their comics, right? Or at least they did for a while, and now they're only greenlighting miniseries that then hopefully become ongoing. Like Poison Ivy started off as a miniseries. It's just supposed to be 6 issues.
Yeah.
And then it's an ongoing now, you know? They you know, it's tough in the market, I guess. And I wish there was a way to get people out there reading more comics. And I mean, there's a couple ideas that I have, but like it's tough. It's tough. What else did we let's talk about Batman Superman World's Finest 26. Did we all read that one?
Yeah. I mean, I did.
I did. Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm going to be honest. I like Mixospitalic in small doses. I'm not a fan of Batmite. Though I feel bad saying that because sometimes Batmite is cute and I feel bad, you know, for Batmite that I don't really like Batmite. I don't want to hurt his feelings, you know?
Yeah.
But did you guys like this issue?
Yeah, I feel like I liked it for what it was. You know, this wasn't like my favorite issue, but I think considering like where they're going with it, I feel like this might be like the best possible story that you can make with it for it being like a larger than life kind of like almost like this like might war, this might crisis that kind of makes it interesting with, you know, Sinestro even getting his own might version of himself in Parasite or like Paris might. So I'm definitely into like the direction that they've headed in. And so it's not like completely like goofy and silly, but it actually has some like meat to it.
Yeah. Lex?
I loved it. Yeah, I loved it.
Really?
As I mentioned earlier, you know, I like to read heavy dialogue, maybe, you know, complex concepts. But my core of enjoying comic books is weird and silly and zany, and coupled with Dan Mora's art. I mean, this was just right up my alley, man. It was silly, and it's almost like a palate cleanser when I read something like Helen of Windhorn, and then I flip over to this, and it's just like, oh, I can get through this without even thinking almost, which maybe for some people that's not the kind of comic book they want to read, but it was fun and it was pretty to look at. So I loved it.
So I have my opinions. Like I said, I like Mixospitalic in small doses. I think his animated appearances are like some of the best like ever.
Yep.
The McGurk episode of Superman the Animated Series, like it's so good. Batmite not so much, but I think that Batmite is kind of cool in a way. Again, used sparingly, but even more sparingly. What I don't like about this, and this is surprisingly, look, I think Mark Waid can do no wrong, right? Except this interpretation of the mites. Because it doesn't make any sense. Mixospitalic isn't a fan of Superman. He's a trickster, a tormentor. And then Batmite is a fan. And they talk about it in this issue, how they both have different motivations. But the whole Justice League mites are like Batmite, not like Mixospitalic. Yeah. And all the bad guy mites are also just like Batmite. So Mixospidalic's the odd man out, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
And they look like chibi versions of the characters that they are fans of, as opposed to Batmite, looks like he's like a stan, right? Like if we're looking at like stan culture, like Batmite looks like he like sewed together an outfit and put it on because he's like a kid trying to I like idolizing Batman. But the rest of the characters look like, I don't know if you guys remember the like multiversal shenanigans where there's like a almost baby / toddler universe out there where like there's like a baby Two-Face, like one of the Two-Face character, but he has a pie on half his face, like he got hit in the face with a pie and it's only half his face, so he has like pie crust as his Two-Face thing, and it's chibi little baby like X-Babies version out there, right? That's what this seems like, except less creative.
Yeah.
The names aren't creative, and like again, Mark Waid is amazing. I don't know what's going on. Just none of the names here are creative. None of the designs are creative because they're just chibi baby versions, and like the motivations are all the same. And like, although Mark Waid and Dan Mora can put together a really good book, I don't think this is the best story that could have been told with this same plot. Like, explore stan culture, explore like rabid idolization, trolls, like that sort of thing. I don't know. Could have been a little better. Am I wrong?
Yeah. I mean, I'm open to seeing where it's gonna go, and so that's why I feel like I'm like still I have more positive feelings about it, because like the concept in and of itself is fascinating to me.
Yeah. I liked it.
Yeah.
I'm just confused on like why not what I said. I don't know. Batmite's and well, Mixospitlick's the weird person out. Anyway, I really liked it, but I don't know. There's something off about it.
Yeah.
That's just me.
It almost feels like they're just cashing in on Mark Waid and Dan Mora.
Right.
Just the creative team. I mean, it's a great creative team.
Right. Like, they could have just had, instead of mites, like, it just seems like they just picked, like, Funko Pop versions of these characters and just gave them life. It's just, it doesn't seem as good as it could have been. But I don't know who that mystery person is. Do you guys have any ideas on who that, like, person with the scars on the side of their head are?
I've been thinking about it.
That's, like, getting all the evil mites together.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I had a theory, but it's not valid, so I don't want to say it.
Okay. Is it Pandora? I'm just joking.
No.
Have we seen a Bizarro mite before?
I was gonna say that because, like,
is that who you were gonna say?
Well, no.
Oh, okay.
Like, because I was gonna mention, like, there was like a Batman Zer and R, and I thought that might be interesting, but no. It's not that. It's just because I feel like I want to see that for some reason. I don't. Anyway, but now I forget what I was gonna say.
I said a Bizarro mite.
Yes, because when you mentioned Mixospitlick, like, it got me thinking. It's like that's not really like Superman's like doppelganger, like technically speaking. So it's like, so we can kind of have like a different rule set for him.
Yeah. Like,
this is my kind of like a thesis. Right. It's like, so it's like he's his own thing. He's not like Batmite in the same way. Whereas like if Superman had like a super mite, like he would be like a Superman fan of Superman.
Right. Who would then annoy Superman. But I think Superman wouldn't be annoyed. That's also the funny part. Like, Batman's annoyed, and they go over the motivation in this issue, which I think is actually really good on Mark Waid's part, is going through the motivation of these fifth dimensional imps. And that is like Batman always just needs to pay attention and focus and like stop. Like, I get you're a fan of Batman, just like don't annoy him. Like Superman is much nicer to Batmite than he is to Mixospitlick. But I think like if Superman had a fan, he would be nice to him, right? Like, it wouldn't annoy him.
Yeah, 100%. That's his nature.
Yeah. We'll see where this goes. Lex, Cobra Commander 4.
Yeah.
Did you not like it?
I liked it. Again, pretty much all of the books I'm reading right now are which like I'm keeping up currently with Energon Universe books, TMNT stuff, and Massive Verse stuff. Those are the books that I'm picking up first every week. And this is, I want to say the weakest Energon book for me.
Uh-huh.
And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It just is. It feels like it's
Weaker than Duke?
I really like Duke so far.
Okay.
And I feel like those books pair together really well. I hope they will, and in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good. And I don't mean it's the weakest and again as an insult. I think it's good, but it just feels like it's helping build that foundation of the Energon universe before it all comes crashing together.
Yeah.
So it's like a foundation book.
I like the idea of G.I. Joes and Transformers teaming up. I think that it sounds like a cool crossover. I don't like the fact that in this Energon universe their origins are linked. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Like Transformers is such a good book. And I don't know where Cobra Commander is coming from. Issue 1 of Cobra Commander was not good. I didn't like it at all. Issue 2 I did like. And then issue 3 I think I liked it, and then I didn't read issue 4.
Yeah. It's hit or miss for me.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's my least favorite out of all of them. But it just feels like it's helping laying down some foundation.
Mm-hmm.
But when it all comes together, then it'll be like a callback type thing. Like, oh, do you remember that in issue 4 of Cobra Commander? So it doesn't feel necessary to read, but I think it will have some long-term connections.
Okay.
I think. We'll see.
I mean, yeah, because like G.I. Joe and Transformers are doing the movie.
Yeah.
And like they tied the G.I. Joe origin to Transformers in the last movie.
Yeah.
And so like I don't know. I don't know what to I don't know. I don't know what I want from also G.I. Joe is not my favorite. Like I like it, but it's also like I don't know. It's just kind of I don't know. It's just
I think
retro?
with me and the Energon universe,
yeah.
I think it helps add the human. It's the same thing with like Godzilla movies. The human element's always the weakest part, or not always. A lot of times is the weakest part.
Yeah.
And I think it just adds a layer of interesting storytelling from the humans' point of view.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is, to make the humans cool.
I'm going to challenge you on this. But what if Godzilla like hit like the Hadron Collider and suddenly exploded and it gave Barry Allen the powers to be the Flash? Like that's what I don't want. I'm okay technically with the Flash fighting Godzilla, but I wouldn't want Godzilla to be the source, the origin of Barry Allen getting his powers. And that's what I feel like is going on with this Energon universe.
I hope not. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
Okay. All right. Ethan, what else did you read?
I also read Wonder Woman, and this was issue 8. Once again, like this art is stunning, and I know I like mentioned it before, and it's a semi-random thing to bring up, but the clothing that he draws, like, but by the way, I was a visual merchandiser in a previous life, so if I mentioned clothes, that's like why. So, but like she wears this flutter sleeve top, and that's just something that you don't see. Because like typically they wear like if you see like Lois Lane, she'll wear like a business suit or like, a regular blouse. But to see like the detail, and even like the Sovereign is wearing like loafers, it just brings so much like humanity and reality to it. But yeah, I want to say maybe this issue is my second favorite of this week, just because I really like the point that it was making. Like Wonder Woman is trapped by the lasso of lies by the Sovereign, and so we go into this very patriarchal world of her as like this housewife character, and she's trying to like break free, and it just felt very topical, but also very like the antithesis of what like she's supposed to stand for.
Yeah.
And then that coupled with like the art that he used for those specific panels, which were very like pastel, really once again like highlighted like just how beautiful this was, but it also like fit the story very well. So definitely shout out to Wonder Woman 8.
Okay. I mean, the art is amazing. I've fallen behind, so I need to catch back up.
Mm-hmm.
But the art
it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. It's one of the best looking books on the shelf. I am like 2 issues behind, but yeah, it is definitely easy on the eyes.
Yeah, very much so.
There is a certain level of art that makes you like fall in love with a character. Like I can normally tell like a character is just art on a page, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when they look so real that you're like,
mm-hmm.
I've lost my breath.
Yes.
That's great, you know?
Yeah. And that's what Daniel Sempier does.
Yeah. I want to talk about my X-Men comics because, you know, I got to do it. Follow the House of X number 4 came out this week. Next month is Follow the House of X number 5, which is the last Follow the House of X. Like next month, the Krakoan era ends. May is the final one. And then I don't know if there's any X books in June. But July, I know for certain there are X books. So Follow the House of X number 4. We're dealing with like, I don't know. There's a whole lot going on. Are you guys reading X-Men?
No, not actively. I'm so far behind.
Right. I'm very behind as well.
So what I'm recommending now, especially because we're in the last, you know, the home stretch. If you like, look, I love the Krakoan Age, but if it's such a hassle to, like catch up, just start when the new thing starts, you know, and then go back and read Krakoan Age stuff. But like,
yeah, I'm working through all the old stuff pretty casually right now.
I'm just saying, make sure you hop on in July or whenever it starts back up again. Like that's gonna be such an easy like starting point, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that.
I think like that's what I'm recommending for people. Like just hop on in July. Like don't worry right now. What X-Men should I read? Just wait till July. Like if you ask for recommendations, like I could give you my recommendations, but it's gonna be a lot. Or you could just wait for July and just like hop on then, you know? It might be the easiest way to do that. Follow the House of X number 4 deals with obviously the end of the Krakoan Age stuff. And then Dead X-Men 4 finally finishes this 4-issue miniseries that ties in with Follow the House of X and Rise of the Powers of X. And Dead X-Men, the cast of that were the cast of the X-Men team that died abruptly in the Hellfire Gala. They announced the new X-Men lineup, and then the next page, Nimrod falls from space and
I did see
kills them. And so, like, they all die being an X-Man for, like, 30 seconds. And so this is them. They got resurrected. But now they're on, like, a time travel mission because it ties in with the Krakoan Age and what Xavier is doing. And, I don't know. It's good if you're an X-Men fan. I don't know if it's like mainstream people friendly, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm not complaining. I'm loving seeing it end in a way, but I hate to watch it leave. No. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's my X-Men titles. Did you guys read Ultimate Black Panther 3?
No.
I read the first issue.
The art is amazing. The art in this
is really good.
So good.
I have to check it out.
What'd you say?
I'm just saying that I have to check that out.
Yeah. Have you not read, Ethan, have you read issue 1?
No.
Oh, so none of the issues.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But if you recommend it, I will check it. Who's writing it?
Who is writing this?
Not Coates, right?
No.
No.
Who is writing Ultimate Black Panther? I don't know. I'm sure Lex can.
Brian Hill.
What's up?
Okay.
Brian Hill.
Who's Brian
Okay.
Hill? What did Brian Hill write? Like previous?
I don't know off the top of my head.
It's all right.
I know I think he wrote on the Titans DC TV series, but I know he's also done comics as well. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're right. Blade, the newest Blade.
Oh, that's good.
He wrote Fallen Angels, the X-Men book.
Most people didn't like it. I read issue 1 and I didn't like it, but I can't.
Dawn looks like he wrote on Dawn of X. Worked on that.
Oh, Dawn of X is just the general first act of the Krakoan Age. Right now I'm looking in July or June to see if there are X-Men comics. There is X-Men 35, which finishes off. I think that might be the final issue. Oh, it's gonna be so sad. I don't know how I'm gonna feel, guys. I don't when this era's over. It's 5 years. 5 years.
It's been a long time. A lot of books.
Through COVID.
I've heard that people are like disappointed that it's ending.
There is I'm disappointed
they really like
that
the Krakoan Age. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be sad to see a lot of these like things like finish up. But I don't know. I'm gonna be sad. And then I think the new books start in July.
Cool. Yeah, I'll hop on then. So I'm like up to date.
Yeah. There is a new Marvel crossover event called Blood Hunt. If you like Blade, you like vampires, and you like seeing superheroes versus vampires, it might be worth checking out Blood Hunt. It's a big old crossover event.
Sounds cool.
Yeah. Absolute Power starts in July 3rd. Blood Hunt starts in June. So those are going to be the two big crossover events in either company.
Yeah. New TMNT run starts in July. So if people didn't read the IDW run at all, 150 issues, it ends next week. And then it kicks back off with a relaunch in July.
Is that the Jason Aaron one? Is that who's writing it?
Yeah.
That's wild. But okay.
Yeah. So that'll be a good jumping on point.
But yeah, Ultimate Black Panther is good. Ultimate Spider-Man is good. Ultimate X-Men, not good. My personal opinion.
Oh, I wondered what you thought about that. I have enjoyed it, but I'm not a hardcore X-Men fan.
The thing is, it should just be called Ultimate Armor, and I think that it would just temper expectations. But like,
I agree.
If the book is called Ultimate X-Men, we're in issue 2, and we have 2 mutants, one of which is an original character now. So like,
I feel like this first story arc is going to end with them getting invited to the X Mansion.
That's weird. That's like a prologue.
It is weird.
Like,
it is weird. It is weird, but I do think that's what they're doing.
2001, that book introduced everybody you needed to know in the first issue. It's a pilot. Have we talked about this, Ethan? Have we talked? Is the first issue of a comic?
Sounds familiar. I think we might have.
Yeah. Is the first issue of a comic the pilot, or is the first story arc the pilot?
I feel like the first issue is the like the pilot episode, and then like each one after that was like a continuing the other episodes.
Yeah.
But do you feel like a property like X-Men with context of like it being around for so long, it would be like rebooting a show and then like saying that this is the pilot for the show? Like, yes, the pilot, it still would be technically a pilot, but X-Men's been around for
it's a new premise though.
60 years.
X-Men's been around, but it doesn't mean that every issue of or every series of X-Men sells. So like the pilot needs to sell not just money-wise, but premise-wise, needs to sell the idea of the book, right? So like when you have, And especially because like it only takes one issue for somebody to not pick up the next issue. And it takes one issue for a person to decide to pick up the next issue. Like each issue matters.
I'll be interested to hear, you being a hardcore X-Men fan. That makes sense to me. I mean, I'm not hating. I've heard both sides. You know what I mean? I've heard people that are huge Peach Momoko fans that are picking that book up solely for that. I've heard
of course.
People that don't have a lot of X-Men context that have enjoyed it. I've heard people that both Peach Momoko fans and don't have a lot of X-Men fans that aren't really into. So I mean, I've heard a pretty wide range of reactions to this one. So interested to see how it like pans out.
I would be surprised to hear from we're talking a normal mainstream a fan of, let's just say, the X-Men cartoon, right? And let's just say maybe they used to read comics when they were younger, the Ultimate comics, let's just say. And they haven't read comics since. For 15 years, they haven't read comics. And now they're like, Ultimate X-Men, I'm going to pick it up. I would 100% guarantee they will be disappointed.
Well, yeah, that can be a dangerous group, though. Like old school fans that were very specific Ultimate Universe fans. Like I don't like to have many conversations with those hardcore Ultimate fans.
I don't know. Like, to me, this is like, I'm not talking about the haters. I'm saying, for example, you do a new book and it's called Ultimate Avengers, right? And the first 6 issues about Jarvis.
I mean,
you're gonna be disappointed. You're gonna be disappointed.
Jarvis isn't an X-Men, though.
Okay, let's have the first 6 issues be Jack of Hearts. They introduce the new Ultimate version of Jack of Hearts, and it's the first 6 issues.
I'd buy that.
Yeah, but it might as well just be Ultimate Jack of Hearts, so you know what you're.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree that it should be Ultimate Armor.
Right.
I do agree with that.
And if you want to tell an armor story, but it's too early to have Ultimate Armor be its own series, then introduce Armor into the supporting cast of an Ultimate X-Men lineup, and then do a spin-off miniseries on it. I just think.
I mean, I agree 100%. It should be an Ultimate Armor book, or call it one of the other X-Men spin-offs. Yeah, Ultimate New Mutants, and then that be the prologue leading into Ultimate X-Men. Like at the end of this miniseries or whatever it's going to end up being, Charles Xavier, whoever invites them to the X Mansion, and then we get Ultimate X-Men. I 100% agree.
It's just a weird choice. Like,
it should not have been titled Ultimate X-Men. I could not agree more.
It's disappointing in that respect, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Sorry, you don't get your Ultimate Jarvis book.
I would read Ultimate Jack of Hearts.
I know you would read
1000%.
But actually, speaking about Ultimate Jarvis, in a way, are you guys reading Avengers Twilight?
Yeah.
No.
I didn't read this week's, but I am reading it.
It started off really strong. Avengers Twilight 5, though, from this week wasn't that good. It was just kind of smash 'em up, beat 'em up, good looking sort of comic, but I don't think it had too much going for this issue.
Do you know how many issues it's going to be total?
I don't know. I mean, they're called books, not issues, which makes me think that it's going to be like a 12-issue run. Like, I think it'd be funny to name a 6-issue miniseries Book 1, Book 2, Book 3, Book 4, Book 5, Book 6. You know what I mean? It's too pretentious of a change to just end at 6 issues.
True.
Yeah.
You know? Fair. So I could see this being like a 12-issue run. 2 story arcs.
Well, especially
it seems like it just got
issue
started.
5. Yeah, especially if issue 5 was nothing but fight scenes.
Yeah.
You couldn't end it on 6. You'd have to wrap up so much story.
Yeah. So it's probably not that.
Yeah.
What else did you guys read that we didn't get a chance to go over? We got a couple of minutes, so we can rush through things quick. Superman 13.
Yes.
Is it
Superman
good?
13. It is good.
I heard it was good.
Yeah, like I think I mentioned this last time, but House of Brainiac. Brainiac is my favorite Superman villain. And I really like the direction that they're going in. I love the super family. I love just families in general in the DCU. But specifically, it's like Connor Kent, Superboy gets a spotlight in this episode, and they talk about his tactile telekinesis, and there's so much story left to tell with him. And then Supergirl is being her natural, like, badass self, like wanting to like beat up Brainiac, so that always makes me happy. But then also you get like this really cool kind of like duo between Superman and Lobo actually working on the same side. So this like definitely was in the running as one of my favorite books this week.
Okay. I mean, these titles have been really good. That's why I'm very disappointed I didn't get to read this before Showtime. But I will be reading
I heard
this,
it was really good.
you know, today or tomorrow. Because this run has been
really
good.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I read Roxxon Presents Thor #1.
I want to hear your thoughts on it, man. I heard it was funny. That's all pretty much the general consensus that I've heard.
It is funny. I would be how do I put this? Save your money.
Yeah.
And read it.
I'm not a huge fan of Greg Land's art, so
Greg Land's art works for this in almost a meta way.
I could see that.
There's a lot of jokes. They do a lot of it's a parody comic. It's a parody comic basically if Roxxon was writing their own Thor origin story where Thor works with Dario Agger from Roxxon, they're best friends. And like he supports all of the corporate stuff. So this is a very capitalist book, but it's a parody. So anyone with media literacy would know it's anti. You know, it's there's a lot of jokes talking about how things are technically not illegal, so we're fine. You know, they have a dig at the Cybertruck. It's called the Thor
I saw
truck.
that. I did see that.
And Thor has to swipe on his hammer to unlock it, but then he has to put in the code that goes on his bracers on his wrist, and like he can't open the door, and like there's like little things, and it's not a good comic, but it's not
I'll probably wait
to be good.
So it hits the app.
It's kind of annoying, but it's funny in its own way. So yes, wait for it to hit the app and then read it. Yeah. But also, like, it could be a work of art. I don't know. Know. It's one of those parodies, you know?
I've heard that it just surprised people with how funny it was. Like, people weren't sure what they were getting going into it and then laughed. And so they're like, oh, okay, I don't hate this.
And there's ads for Roxxon in the middle, in like every couple of pages. There's like ads and stuff, you know? But Greg Land's art works really well because it's very like I don't know, like Enchantress is in it, and it just speaks to that type of story that they're trying to tell.
Yeah, you know, that sucks. He probably didn't know that they were choosing him for the wrong reasons.
I mean, maybe not. Maybe he's in on the joke. Maybe it's not. Maybe that's not even the point. Maybe I'm reading too far into it. But like the almost sanitized way, because I mean, as far as I know, allegedly he traces all his stuff, right? And like, you know, I used to like Greg Land a lot, and you know, if I ever had a chance to interview him, that'd be great. I'm sure he's a fine enough person. But allegedly, there's some tracing involved. Allegedly, there's porn faces, you know, and you know, it is what it is. For this one, it works. It works, you know. And then maybe last but not least, Miles Morales Spider-Man #19. Did you guys read this one?
I didn't, but I heard it was good.
It finally ends this storyline, I think, for the most part. I got tired of
I heard it was good.
I got tired of the villain. So the villain, for better or for worse, the villain story is over, and it is what it is. I'm looking forward to what comes next.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I gotta read it. I heard it was good, and this is I've been trying to keep up with it because I do kind of like the silly stuff that they've been doing.
This run started off really strong.
It did,
and it got weak at a little bit. Like Rabble to me is the weakest part, and I just didn't like the character. the motivation.
Yeah, I agree.
I just wasn't really for me. Before we get going, Ethan, talk to me about Poison Ivy 21. And it came out 2 weeks ago, but I know you just read it, and I want you to get a chance to talk about it.
Yes, so it's one of the best DC comic books on the stand. I have to give props to G. Willow Wilson. I wasn't too aware of her prior to this, but her writing skill level is immaculate. Like, she just has the right blend of like humor, but like also like sincerity, and like taking this character, which could easily just be kind of this like stereotype of the villainess, and just making her feel like real and human. And also it's very captivating without it having to rely on action the entire time. Of course, this is comic book, so there is action, but you're actually invested in what she's doing the entire time. This particular issue was like her origin story, and even though this could have felt like a bit of a like retcon because she's being like reflective on like what happened to her like past and like how she was created, it almost felt like a commentary on how she was created, because at the beginning she's like this sex symbol who's able to like manipulate men, and it could have been very condemning, but instead allowed it to be empowering in a sense where she loved being like feared, but then also just like being able to be attractive as well. So it's like this duality, and I like that they gave her that depth, and she could have easily went a different way with it. We also get to see her in her like classic old school like 90s Poison Ivy costume, which felt like fan service, but in the best possible way.
Yeah.
And her relationship with Batman, and seeing how that like started off in their different perspectives and how she feels about heroes, was just all very deep. So once again, one of the best books on the stands.
Yeah. I think it's a great judge of character. People who like this book are just cool people. That's really what it is.
It's true. Very true.
Everybody I know who likes this book is cool. So maybe it's confirmation bias. Maybe I don't have a large enough sample size for my survey. But generally speaking, like, this book is great and a great judge of character. So
yeah, it's brilliant. I'm so glad that they kept it going.
Yeah. Oh, I am too. I think that's everything that we read this week. I want to thank both of you so much for coming on the show, being a part of this grand experiment we call Comic Talk. It has to be closing in. I think we're at like 2.5. No, did we just finish 2 years? No, did we just finish 3 years? It was like March 2020. It might be 3 years. Have we been doing Comic Talk for 3 years? Like March-ish 2021. So like again, this Krakoan age I've been talking about on this show for 3 years, out of those 5 years, 3 years, right? So, it is what it is. Thank you, both of you, so much for coming on the show. Thank you for being a part of this, taking time out of your Thursday. Before we get going, where can we find you? What do you got coming up? Anything you want to plug? Ethan.
Cool. Well, I am Virgo Blade. You can find me on TikTok, Twitter, and Insta. Once again, as always, I feel like I always say this, but here's the thing, like, writing is a long process. So I do have things cooking, but I can't say anything just yet until it gets confirmed.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. I wish you the best on that.
Thank you.
Lex, where can we find you? What do you got coming up? Anything you want to plug? I can't hear you. Why can't I hear you?
There it is. Okay. Wednesday poll on all social medias. I'm usually online talking nonsense about comic books. Since I haven't been on since January, our new show is out, Wednesday Toast, a podcast about comic book stuff. I think we're on episode 12 now, so check that out. It's a little different from the old show. The old show, we just reviewed comic book trades, and this one we just talk about all kinds of comic book related stuff. So we kind of opened it up to make it more of a casual conversation. And that's really all that I got going on right now.
All right. Shout out to anybody who was watching us live on Twitch or YouTube, / The Keeg Show. We got a quick influx of people watching this, and then they peaced out. So if you're out there, like, comment, subscribe, follow, write a review, stay tuned for more episodes. If you're on social media, you follow us at The Keeg Show. On TikTok and Instagram, those are our two biggest ones, at The Keeg Show. on Facebook, Twitter, Threads, that stuff too. Also, yes, if you're listening to the podcast, it's wherever you get your podcast from. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Amazon Music for podcasts, Audible. I think those are, the podcast app, whatever. We're on that. If you want to find us on Patreon, patreon.com/The Keeg Show, if you want to give back to The Keeg. We also have comicshoplocator.com. Comicshoplocator.com. Find a comic shop near you. Support your local comic shops. That is super important. Spread the love of comics as well. Maybe you're not a content creator, but if you're looking for recommendations, ask any of us, Ethan, Lex, myself. We're here to spread the love. That's part of why Comic Talk even exists in the first place. Find a community, for anything that you're interested in. If you're interested in kickball, find a kickball community. We're here for comics though, but other than that, Comic Talk is every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. We also got the Keeg Talks on the weekends. We have the X-Men 97 after show that we do for each of these X-Men 97 episodes on Disney+. We do an episode each for that. And then we have State of X, which is our monthly X-Men podcast that we do as well. And that's a new one, So there's a lot of cool things coming up. I'm going to be at C2E2 next week. That's the Chicago Comic-Con.
Nice.
So that's going to be super cool. Keep an eye out for that. Again, at The Keeg Show. And if you want to follow me specifically, this is Dimithri on all social media. I'm going to be on a game show on Tuesday, April 23rd called Person, Place, or Thing. It's on Fox. Nice. So it's a nationally broadcasted game show, but each Fox, Fox is different in each area. So figure out the time that they have Person, Place, or Thing because it's different. In LA and Orange County area, it's at 2 p.m. But in different cities, different states, it's different times. So anyway, those are all the things. That's pretty much it. Shout out to everybody out there for watching and or listening. Shout out to Jeremy Adams. If you ever stopped by, Jay Garrick, The Flash, I'm very sad to see it end, but I'm hoping those characters go on to new books. That's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. Once again, I am your host, Dimithri Perera, and this has been another episode of Comic Talk for the week of Thursday, April 18th, 2024. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Super